Welcome to SVU Pod, Especially Heinous. I'm Gabe.
I'm Tasha.
We are on Season 7, Episode 7, Name. Okay. Opening scene, there's some construction workers. They're working on part of a playground. It's roped off around the equipment. There's some kids that are talking to one of the workers and talking about how pumped they are for the park to be finished. Another worker discovers some freaking goddamn human teeth. This all happens like real quick.
They're hanging out chit-chatting, and they're like, hang on a second. This is a human
what is
job.
This, corn? Oh, wait, I mean teeth?
Oh, yeah. No, he goes, check this out. Teeth, which isn't crazy right off the bat. I have a drawer full of children's teeth.
Yeah, but like at a park while you're talking to kids. Relax.
Yeah, that's weird.
You know? Yeah. The kids are told to go back over to their moms. And I was like, Mom, maybe it could be a dad. You don't know. So, you know. And another worker discovers a freaking human jawbone. Oh my God. The fucking bones. Like, never mind. I'll talk about it later.
I know. The hand.
I'm like, please.
Yeah.
It'll be in pieces. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there was like holes on the sides where like...
We're
like, did you just go to the spirit store and steal a paw off a skeleton?
I know. I was like, I just was in the Halloween section of Target the other day. So I also found this. The hand at the end of this episode, I know we're not there yet, but the hand at the end of this episode is equivalent to, what is that movie with Bradley Cooper where he plays a soldier who comes home and they use like a doll as a baby, like a little kid's plastic doll. And it's very obviously not a live baby.
Is that the one where he's like a sharpshooter or something?
Mm-hmm.
I never watched it, but it's like based on a true guy.
American Sniper.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
Yeah. Go look at footage of him like holding the baby and it's like, it's a fucking doll. It's a Cabbage Patch doll.
It's got yarn hair. Oh, God.
It's a very serious movie. But
okay, so
it's like nobody on the set had a baby. Use a 3-month-old. You guys do that shit all the time.
Yeah. So later, as in like immediately after, Toots and Munch are on the scene with Corner Warner and CSU. They got shit roped off into sections like archaeologists, and they're like sifting through the dirt. Corner Warner says that the bones that were discovered in the playground belong to a child that's probably 12 to 13 years old. The sand found in the site is from a quarry in Rock County, New York. Which is crazy that you were able to figure that out on scene rather than taking that to the, I don't know, whatever. A CSU
She probably has a little mobile unit.
Oh, that's true.
I guess she has a little tackle box. You know she does.
Yeah, she does. A CSU woman calls over Corner Warner and hands her an old Battlestar Galactica metal lunchbox.
It was very cool.
Very cool. I haven't seen the 70s version, but I have seen the newer one from like the mid-2000s, and it's fucking phenomenal if you haven't seen it. Corner Warner thinks it could mean that the death of the victim could have occurred in the late 70s because that's when the show was going on, the old version. The gang thinks that the death maybe was accidental. The kid could have like fallen into the hole. So far, there's no proof of it being a homicide until CSU finds the skull. It's got a goddamn bullet hole in it. Theme song. Scootin' doo doo boo.
Boot scootin' boogie oo. Boot scoot 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 diddle.
All right, at the quarry in Rock County, Toots and Stabler, who's wearing a cast so he can't randomly shoot anybody.
Yeah, his elbow.
He'll find a way.
At first, I'm like, why the fuck is he? Are we ever going to find out what? Yeah, Tasha, 1 episode ago, he got shot in the elbow.
In court, yeah.
And it made me go, oh my God, are they doing this as in like, this is legit like the next day? This is your next case? Oh, what a life.
So the quarry is where the rest of the bones are found, and it was closed from 1976 until this last year, actually. About half the bones, including the pelvis, have been found. The victim was a boy, but that's about all the bones will tell them. No healed breaks in the bones, no defects, no abnormalities, no clothes, hair, or tissue. All that shit's gone. The clothes wouldn't have disappeared and were either dragged off by an animal or the kid wasn't wearing any. Ugh. But CSU brings over a backpack they found. Inside are freaking sports cards, a pen, a book, a trapper keeper with a handmade poster of a school mascot. There's a number on it, 148. Cut to Public School 148. The little drawing of the mascot was their mascot for the school, and it's dragons, which is so cute. The principal tells Stabler and Munch that 4 boys went missing in 78, and she remembers when it happened. And she also knew who the boys were because they were around her age. She remembers a lot about when they went missing. She was also a kid when it happened, and I imagine it's probably stuck with her.
Right.
especially like in your school. You'd remember that shit.
Yeah.
She tells them their names are Juan Alvarez, Hector Padilla, Esteban Morales, and Michael Rodriguez. Stabler thinks people didn't hear about it because of a newspaper strike that was going on in 78, but the principal thinks that disappearances weren't in the press because people assumed the boys were just, quote, poor Puerto Rican thugs who ran away. Fucking 12 years. Okay.
I know.
Stabler asks her what she thinks happened. She tells him that her mom said a monster who takes kids who didn't listen to their parents did it. Why would you capitalize on that shit?
Oh my God. I know.
Jesus.
She doesn't get out of line because she is in constant fear.
God. Imagine being like, this is the perfect opportunity to instill terror in my child.
The most effective parenting tool of most generations.
Right.
Fucking fear.
Yeah.
How awful. I mean, also, like, let's drag that mom. How about we drag that mom in the 50s who couldn't fucking have her own bank account? Let's do that.
Right. Yeah. Munch takes a call. The files for the case have been checked out of the warehouse, but by who? By whom?
Over at the crime lab. Stabler barely gets through the door when our little CSU, Millie Vizcarrando, goes, "Don't even bug me. Whatever test results you're looking for, I don't have them." Doesn't even look at them.
Yeah.
She's on her computer and is just like staring at the screen. He confronts her about the files for the 4 missing boys, and she's all like, what? Why? He tells her that they found remains and she wants to know where, but Stabler asks her why she checked out the files. Like, it has nothing to do with anything she's doing for work.
Yeah, like why do you have these?
And she goes, I was looking for something. I'm doing something.
He's like, oh, okay, see you later. Let me know when you're done. I'm doing something here. 55 cheeseburgers, 55
fries, 55 taters. He's like, I am also looking for something. The files. So
yeah.
She tells him she's going to send them to him the next day. And he's like, boo, no, now please.
Yeah. Money, please.
She doesn't have them with her. That is what I was doing, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
And
it took too long, and then now there's a small fire in your car. Money, please.
She doesn't have the files with her, so he asks where they are, and she cartoonishly looks over both her shoulders to make sure nobody's listening and tells Stabler that she doesn't want him to think she's weird. I hope you don't think I'm weird. I'm kind of different. And he's like, too late.
And then she like pulls her bangs aside. She has an eyebrow ring. I'm not like other girls. And then she skateboards out of there.
Skateboards.
Skateboards. She ollies over him.
Do you want to go get half beers after this? And she takes off her lab coat and she's wearing a tank top with a loose man's necktie around her neck. Yeah,
she's like, who says I can't wear my Converse with my whatever the fuck? Who says?
He was a skater boy. What? Nothing.
I spell skate with an A.
Oh my God, I love football.
Yeah.
Oh my God, where's Olivia? Just kidding. I don't care. We don't really get along. I'm not sure why.
What's your favorite football team? Because that's probably mine too.
You play the drums? Will you teach me? Ugh. This is literally me just quoting myself from 20 years ago.
I was just thinking, I was like, oh God, I was such a fuck.
God. So she's like, I don't want you to think that I'm weird. And he's like, too late. And then I'm like, are they flirting or do I just want them to be?
Yeah. Every time he's around a woman and they have like a rapport back and forth, I am like, ooh, is he moving on from camp? Even though it's just work.
And we fully know that like that's not what. Well, I mean, he does. A little bit goes on, but in his defense, he was fully divorce papers were filed. Dessert wine is out. Like it was, it was a lot. Okay,
I forgot. I didn't think that they actually ever got divorced.
They didn't.
Oh, okay, they didn't go through with it. Okay.
No, but it got close. Anyway.
Oh, that's right. And then he's like, I don't even know if that's my baby. Car accident.
Oof.
Remember?
Anyway, name him after me. So Stabler and Millie head over to her apartment. Yeah, they do. This place is fucking stacked. Millie Vasili has pulled 50 to 60 unsolved cases with male Hispanic victims ages 7 to 14 spanning from 1960 to 1980. Her dad was a fingerprint analyst and was obsessed with a case called The Boy in the Box, where a 9-year-old boy's murder was unsolved. The cause of death was never determined, and he remained a John Doe.
And that's a real thing, right?
It's a real thing.
I wondered if you were going to do the chaser on that, but I was saying this to Sean yesterday. I was like, I know there's a real case called about a boy in the box, and you'd think that Tasha would do that, but she's also like, everybody does that. I'm going to do something different.
This is about the boy in the box,
Yeah.
but the details that they use are different. So the real life boy in the box case, it was in the 50s and it was in Philadelphia. It was interesting to me that they called it the boy in the box, which is kind of on the nose when there was a boy in the box case. Anyway, so, but in this one on the show, the boy was 9 years old. It was in the 60s, not the 50s. This boy had been long forgotten after that by everyone except for Millie's dad. He worked on it constantly until the day he died. She just took over. Now she's on it. I mean, it was a part of her life, her entire life.
She's probably had these files checked out for like ever.
Yeah. So when Stabler walked in and was like, "Hey, girl, I'm looking for this thing that I know you have," and she's like, "Ugh, they're mine."
Yeah.
She hands him a box with the case files from 1978 and asks Stabler if it were 4 white boys that went missing, if he thinks the case would still be open. And he says, probably not, but at least now we have remains. So back at the precinct, families of the 4 missing boys are brought into an office at the precinct. The violins are screaming. Millie's there. All of the evidence and material remains are laid out on a table. Everything from this little boy's backpack. One of the moms sees the lunchbox and says, "That's Juan's," and starts crying. Millie has to tell her she can't touch it, and she's holding back tears too.
Yeah.
So now we're supposed to be a little bit later. There was an artistic choice made here. It's supposed to be after all the interviews are done. We see Stabes carry a box to his desk and pull out Juan Alvarez's photo. So then we fade into his conversation with his mom and dad. So he's looking at this stuff at his desk as if like he's reflecting on these conversations that he had, okay?
Yeah. It just jumps around a bit.
Yeah, so it seems to jump around. When you're watching it, it makes a lot of sense, and I really liked it. But to like break it down verbally, I'm just sort of like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
So in the actual interview, Mr. Alvarez is repeating over and over, I told the police, I told them Juan would never run away. He wants to confront those detectives, but they're long dead. Millie's there as well. She asks them if they have any idea who may have killed Juan. Mrs. Alvarez says they suspected a man named Robert Sawyer. We fade back to Stabler going through the box and open a file on this dude, Robert Sawyer. He was a handyman that lived in the neighborhood and would hire the 4 boys to help him with odd jobs. Esteban's mom says that Sawyer was always nice to her son, but his dad makes a comment then, that's what they always do. That's how they get kids to trust him. He is correct.
Yes.
Mom's really trying to hang on to something and reminds her husband that Sawyer was given a polygraph test back when the case was being worked. He passed, so he, quote, wasn't lying. So then they do the whole lap on polygraph science and accuracy and all of that. It's clear that she's not in a place to go, oh, he died, or like something awful happened to him. You know, maybe I could convince myself that he's
still out there.
He's still out there. Something else. Maybe it's not as awful as this could sound. But so far, only Juan Alvarez's remains have been found. So they unfortunately have to tell the rest of the parents that the other boys could still be missing, which is what the parents are all hopeful for. But Stabler tells them that it's likely that they were also killed when Juan was. Stabler doesn't think they're alive because the boys would have tried to contact their families. But the parents want to remain hopeful. It's all they've got.
Yeah.
We cut to the Alvarezes for the other side of that hope. I mean, their son was found. Like
His body was.
There could be peace in knowing that he's gone. But Juan's mom says it's supposed to be better knowing, but she'll miss being hopeful.
Yeah.
God, it's got to be so fucking complex.
She's like, every time the phone rings, is it him? Is he in the crowd?
Right. It's been a part of their entire lives.
So at the precinct, Stabler and Millie go over the case info. Sawyer was seen on the street with 2 of the boys, Hector and Michael, the night they disappeared. Sawyer was interviewed 7 times, had an alibi, and passed the polygraph. But his alibi was provided by one of his employees who was a teenager, Carlos Guzman. Munch says that Guzman could have been lying and was trying to keep his boss from going to jail because then he might be out of a job. Munch wonders if because there's only one body in the quarry, if the other boys killed Juan or maybe were responsible for his death somehow and got scared and ran off, which sometimes is a thing. Stabler doubts it because it would have been weird for all those boys to stay away for 27 years.
Right. This isn't the Lion King.
Yes, correct. Rest in peace. What's his face? I forget.
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones. Stabler asked Millie what kind of box the boy was found in. It was a water heater box. Sawyer's main occupation was installing water heaters. He was a plumber. Stabler tells Millie that they need to go back through the case as evidence. She's like, I've looked through it 1,000 times. My dad has 1,000,000 times. And I'm like, who cares, bitch? We're going through it again. We have a new case to compare it to. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Jeez.
Stabler says that last part. I don't. She's just like, what's the point? I've looked through it. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
Millie Zanilli.
But I also understand, like, insisting to a man that you know something.
Oh, right.
You know? I mean, she memorized
the fingerprints. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Stabler and Millie examined the evidence from the boy in the box case. A blanket that was cut in half with scissors was found nearby the body. The detail about the blanket cut in half was kept out of the papers in case the other half was found. And then I said, foreshadowing? The box had marks showing it was dragged across part of the lot. The water heater was pretty common back then, but they did manage to find 75% of the buyers, including people that paid cash, which is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Stabler makes a comment that since Millie's dad and her spent so much time reviewing the case, the boy must have felt like her long-lost brother. She kind of gets quiet and shoots him a look. Stabler keeps looking at the box. Dude, all of a fucking sudden, he finds sand in the grooves, and he's like, it could be a match from the sand where Juan was found. And Millie's like, whoa. And I'm like, dude, it was a bunch of sand, and there was like a rock. You're going to tell me her and her dad in CSU over the years missed that and a one-armed Stabler finds it in 4 seconds? Come on!
Good thing he got his fresh eyes on it for 30 seconds.
God.
Oh, see, lady,
remember,
female person doing this.
Remember when Benny's like, just went like this? Is that a book? She just blinked. She's like, we never thought about blinking. What?
Oh my God, I think I broke my pinky toe. Oh wait, no, it's just a paperback in the park.
Yeah. Is this a pair of broken glasses? Ow, my toe is shattered.
Aren't you wearing steel-toed work boots? Yeah, but I'm like the Princess and the Pea.
Is that a neon yellow rain jacket kind of under a bush? You guys?
We didn't notice it.
Thank God you're here. I'm like 4 half beers deep, too. This is crazy. You guys are bad at your job. Okay. Stabler thinks that the perp could have initially tried to dump the box in the quarry, but maybe thought it was too dangerous because it was still in operation in the 70s, so he moved it. Stabler wants Millie to test the sand. It could be the same from the quarry that Juan was found. Stabler also thinks that time could have changed Carlos Guzman's mind about his initial alibi. So now we're at a frickin' municipal pool. Stabler finds Carlos Guzman.
I just wanted to tell you something about this guy. So he was Raul Gomez in Billions, which he was in a bunch of episodes of that. He was in Shaft. He had a tiny role in Coming to America. But here's a super duper fun fact that I know you'll find super fun. He played Lehman Heath in The Devil's Advocate, husband to Mrs. Jackie Heath, who was played by Corner Warner Tamara Tooney.
Oh my God.
I know. I was like, yeah.
That's wild.
I know. And
when
then
did that movie come out? Before SVU?
97?
So they were probably like, oh, it's fun to work with you again.
That's exactly, my brain goes right to that. And I'm just like, I wonder if she was like, hey, I know this guy.
Yeah.
Or like, oh,
I
yeah.
I wonder that about everybody that has been in the same movies, or if even if it's small parts, if they're like, hi.
Oh my God, it was 1997.
Ooh. I gotta rewatch that, I think.
The effects are probably awesome.
Oh my God.
When they turn into like,
yeah. Stabler finds Carlos cleaning out a trap in a pool, a public pool. It's emptied. Stabler says he wants to talk to Robert Sawyer. Carlos says that he doesn't know where he is. And Stabler's like, you knew 30 years ago. Real good of you to help a guy out like that. Carlos tells Stabler that he told the truth back then. And Stabler's like, well, who said you're lying? Stabler's being like real sassy.
He is.
Stabler's trying to get info out of him and says that he looks pretty ragged. Like, I don't know, he's been carrying a lot of guilt around. Carlos, like, puts his head kind of in his hands. Stabler tells him that he's not in any trouble. He just needs to know where the fuck Sawyer is. ASAP. Carlos says that he doesn't know and walks away.
Carlos doesn't know.
Stabler tells him that they found one boy. Carlos stops, but doesn't look back because cool guys don't look back at explosions.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Stabler says that it's only a matter of time before they find the rest and tells Carlos that he can make it right. But he doesn't look back at Stabler and just keeps on walking. Carlos doesn't know. Carlos doesn't know.
Millie and Stabes have a coffee shop meetup. Man, her schedule really cleared up, I guess. She went from get the fuck out of my lab, I'm in the weeds, to, yeah, I can do a side quest and grab some breakfast about it.
Yeah.
She got some results on Miracle Baby Stabler's findings. He is incredible. We're so glad he's here. The sand found on the box matches the sand from the quarry. Gasp! However, it's very common sand that's used all over golf courses, playgrounds, etc. Oh, never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Gasp! Taking the gas back.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like it's a, but it's reversed. What Stabler gets out of it is that whoever killed the boy in the box probably killed Juan Alvarez, but that won't hold up in court for a second. They got to make a connection to the cases. Stabes doesn't see Carlos changing his story, so there's no link back to Robert Sawyer yet. Sawyer lived in Spanish Harlem, same neighborhood as the four boys. He went underground in the 80s, so there are no further records for him, like zero. And then I'm like, I wonder if he's dead. But I was wrong. Stabler thinks he's probably working as a plumber or a handyman for cash because there are no tax records. Ring, ring. Stabler gets a call from Munch. Munch was called by a psychiatrist who claims that one of her patients reported a murder from 1970 involving a boy's body being stuffed in a cardboard box. Wow, what timing.
Yeah.
So we go to the office of Dr. Indira Singh. She's got this posh, sophisticated accent that legitimizes her psych degree to me.
Yeah. I know. I was like, I wonder if she has any openings.
She's like, I haven't seen Anna in years. Not since she checked herself out of a psychiatric facility and vanished.
Okay, Rose. Fucking Myra Rose. You were slipping into it. I love it.
You know who I was thinking of? I was thinking of Simone from Drag Race, where she's like, I own 51% of this flag factory.
I don't remember.
She did this staccato thing that Rue just fucking loved. Anyway, yeah, and vanished. Out of the blue, she calls me up this afternoon. So this woman on this call told the doctor that when she was 12, her dad killed her brother and made her help him get rid of the body. The boy was put in a box, and the box was left in the back of the car. And then they left it in an empty lot. Stabler picks up the phone that Anna had called in on and does the police thing where he can get it traced.
I was like, is he just like star 69 or star 68 or whatever?
Millie wants to know why Anna told someone now. Apparently, Anna said she had a dream about it and suddenly remembered. Millie thinks that Anna knew they were investigating the case, but that's because it hasn't been in the media. Stabes asks the doctor if she believes Anna's story. I'm sorry, what? If she unblocks trauma that legit matches to an investigation not released to the media, and you're like, sounds iffy to me. What do you think? You think she's
like, is she girl? Yeah, sounds like she's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The doctor's like, yeah, I don't know. She's been using drugs for years. Brain damage. You know. That's not how she talked. There's been nothing to indicate that she's had hallucinations, though. In the doctor's experience, she doesn't have any record of any of that for her. Maybe we could consider believing her. Stabler hangs up the call with information. The call came from a payphone from a park in the village. She used to score ecstasy in that neighborhood. She must be using again. Somebody who speaks like this doesn't say score ecstasy. They don't.
Yeah.
She'd say like obtain or
procure,
which Stabler doubts since that park was cleaned up years ago. Like there's not as much shady shit going on.
This is like peak Rudy. This is peak Giuliani, right?
2005. Giuliani was 90s.
What?
Like they had already cleaned up. It was like late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh.
Hold on. Now I got to see. When, let's see.
I swear to God, he was on SNL with Will Ferrell, but maybe that was the 90s.
Yeah, Will Ferrell was on SNL in the 90s. Yeah, January 1st, 1994 until December 31st, 2001. But this is the post-Giuliani era. So that was, yes. So Millie and Stabler go to the park that Anna had called from. They're hoping to find her there. Stabler wonders how the boy in the box was Anna's brother. He's Hispanic and she's white. Maybe he was adopted or the family was fostering. There's a lot of ways that people can be siblings. But then they see Anna. Holy fucking shit, I said. It's Darlene Snell from Ozark.
Duh! That's why she looks so fucking familiar.
I got so excited.
Oh my God.
She was in an episode of SVU in season 4, but I hadn't watched Ozark yet. So now I'm freaking out about her. She's awesome. She's amazing. I loved her in Ozark.
Ozark's so good.
So fucking good. I'm so glad I watched it. I'm so glad that's in my memory of me ignoring my family for hours and hours a day, just fucking watching that shit. All right, so she's just sitting back straight, hands in her lap, looking straight ahead on a park bench.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah, and she looks pretty frazzled. Stabler pulls out an old mugshot for comparison. First of all, this mugshot looks like a headshot from America's Next Top Model. But now at the park, her hair's frazzled. She's obviously aged. She looks a little worse for wear. You can tell she's had some rough years. So they go up to her. Stabler says her name and that Dr. Singh sent them. Her eyes just dart around and she's rocking a little bit. She doesn't look at him at all. Millie gently asks Anna to come with them. Anna sees her and tells Millie that she looks like her brother and then stands to leave with them. Millie and Stabler eyebrows at each other. They take that as another connection. Millie's Latina, so Anna just confirmed that her brother had something else in common with the boy in the box. This answers the Hispanic question that Stabler asked 2 minutes ago.
At the precinct, Juan talks with Anna in an interview room. He asks her last name, who the president is, and what year it is, and Anna doesn't answer any of those questions. He asks her if she remembers talking to Dr. Singh. She still doesn't answer. Then he asks her to tell him about her brother. She tells him that she doesn't have a brother. He reminds her that she had told Dr. Singh that her brother had been killed, and she just says, oh, okay. Huang asks her what happened to the boy in the box, and she tells him that, quote, they stole him from the hospital. And she's all just confused and obviously has it's just, she's got some shit. Anna just puts her head down and tells Huang that it's 2005. He's like, what? He's like, the year, it's 2005. It's kind of like she knows,
But yeah, her response to that was delayed 5 questions.
Yeah. And then her voice kind of fades off and Huang gets up and goes to the other side of the glass where Millie is watching. Millie asks if she's high, but Huang just thinks she's suffering from years of MDMA use. Her memory could be impaired. Millie wonders if they can trust Anna's story about her brother being stolen from a hospital and then murdered. And Huang is like, yeah, I don't know. This is questionable. He's not sure if she had the experience or took the very well-known boy in the box case and incorporated it into her own memory. Millie doesn't think that Anna invented her story. The details are way too close. She remembers a witness that said that they saw a man and a teenage boy standing over the trunk of a car where the body was dumped, and it could have totally been Anna and her dad. Stabler comes in and tells them that Anna's dad was already dead when the boy in the box was murdered. So now we're at the dream board, or whatever it's called, whatever you call it.
I like that you're calling it the dream board, yeah.
Yeah. Stabler, Millie, Toots, and Munch go over a timeline for Anna. So Anna's dad died in 1961. That's 9 years before the boy in the box was murdered. In 1977, Anna's mother died and left their farmhouse to Anna in Rockland County, where the quarry just so happens to be. And then my brain was like, oh my God, her boyfriend, it's him. And he had all these boys come to this fucking farm. And then I can't believe how accurate I was.
Not me, because in the next scene, I'm like, is she a psychic?
She always has these long, brown nails and is like... Toots and Stabler tell Millie that Anna's past history of drug abuse and shit makes her pretty unreliable. And then Millie's like, that may not be true, though, which is true. Anyways, Millie then says that 30 miles away from where Anna grew up, a hospital was involved in a baby scandal in 1962. One of the babies stolen was a Hispanic boy. Anna's story could check out. Let's go! Now we're at the... Stop. Now we're at the York Hospital Records Department. I love this fucking lady in the background, by the way. Okay. Stabler and Millie talk to this nurse who's just fucking funny to me.
I don't remember.
She just...
Oh, no, I do remember, yeah.
She's like, So she says that the kidnappings were before her time, but they did find the nurse responsible, but were not able to track down all the babies, including the Hispanic boy, the boy in the box. And then Millie looks at the records and is like, it's not a match. She fucking memorized his fingerprints, so when she sees the handprints from the hospital records, she knows it's not him. Millie asks the nurse for the birth records for 1960 and through 1965. The nurse is like, well, how many babies do you think were kidnapped from the hospital? And Millie is like fucking stressed and sassy, and she's like, does it matter? Do you have them? You know? And then Stabler's like, okay, let's back off a little bit. The nurse tells her that they are in the basement.
Yeah, Stabler, you be the voice of reason.
Right. He's like, calm down, psycho. The nurse tells her that the records are in the basement and they'll have to look through them by themselves. Stabler pulls Millie aside and tells her, this is nuts. And Anna's probably piecing two news stories together, and it's all in her head. Millie's worked up and can't figure out why now. Why would Anna suddenly remember all of this? And it's at the same time he's investigating the Juan and other boys. Stabler is convinced that Anna's dad didn't kill anyone and that her brother wasn't stolen from the hospital. The whole time, the nurse is standing behind them and like totally eavesdropping hilariously. She's just like, she's like, I ain't dropping no eaves.
Oh, shut up.
No, it's Lord of the Rings. I'm so happy.
No, it's Lord of the Rings. Oh.
Millie says that Anna grew up 20 minutes away from where Juan was found. The nurse hears Juan's name and asks if he's the boy that's been missing since the 70s. She read it in the newspaper. What?
And they're like, no, you didn't.
Yeah, Stabler's like, no, that's impossible. You're lying. You stupid bitch, and shoots her.
You're probably...
And then... It's not.
You could say that 9 more times and I'd be like, bah!
And he's like, what? We're in a hospital. It's the perfect place to lose a kneecap. What are you talking about? It's not supposed to be in the newspapers. So she read a story in the paper about it a few days ago. She's like, here, and shows them the story. Stabler says, I'll be damned. Maybe it triggered her memory. And then there's no mention of how that got into the newspaper ever again.
Ever again.
How the story got leaked, nothing.
Also,
and it also showed that it wasn't even on like a front page or anything. It was like a small story, which backs up this whole like brown kid, whatever, like.
Also, I don't understand why Stabler believes Anna then all of a sudden. He's like, oh, maybe this triggered her memory.
I know. He's like
it's weird that it's like she didn't just latch on.
That's the argument you're making.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the argument he's making that she heard about it and made it up.
Right.
Or incorporated into her head.
I know, that's it, but he's like, oh, it triggered her real memory. Like, that's, I don't know, I don't get it.
It doesn't make sense.
Well, we go to the hospital. Huang wakes up Anna so that Stabler can talk with her, and she's not really responsive, kind of same as she's been. Stabler shows her the piece of blanket that was found with the boy in the box. It was cut in half and found with this boy here, he says, and shows her a photo of the boy in the box and tells her, you know him. She looks away. This is me. That cut in half blanket's going to be the key. They keep saying cut in half. She obviously has the other half.
I mean, that's why when he was he said that before, like, there's a blanket that's been cut in half. I was like, why are you saying cut in half? Like, this is foreshadowing for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not true. It's just
there.
It's just there. It's because of the real story. But anyway, Stabler tells her, you saw Juan Alvarez's picture in the paper and it helped you remember. And he shows her a photo of him, followed by the other 3 missing boys' photos. He asks her if she knows what happened to them, and she tells him that she doesn't. Stabler then shows her the picture of the boy in the box and tells her that she said it was her brother. And he's getting impatient and pushy, which always works. Mm-hmm. And she says, no brother. And he's like, Anna, listen to me. And Huang just goes, Elliot.
And like shakes his head.
Like, chill the fuck out, dude.
Like, what are you doing, brother? Yeah.
Aren't you embarrassed to like have no self-control whatsoever?
Yeah.
So he does stop. He does. But then is a total passive-aggressive dick to a traumatized woman in a hospital bed. I don't know, Anna. Maybe the only part of your brain you've got left just remembers little details about crimes and pretends you were a part of them. I don't know.
Jesus.
Like,
I was like, damn.
Right. It's like, you are such a bitch, Regina.
Damn. It's 7 a.m.
I thought you were going to say, damn, I wish I was your lover. But
they do.
Anna touches the blanket from the bag and whispers, he burnt it with a cigarette and cut off the burnt part. It was a pretty blanket. She does remember. She needs a second. Remember, Stabler? Huang told you that already? Huang Huangingly asks her, who burnt it? And Stabler shows her Sawyer's picture and asks if that's who burnt the blanket. She looks at the picture and goes, Dad. Huang reminds her that her dad died when she was young, actually.
Like,
Anna
no,
said,
idiot. Your dad's been dead forever.
oh my God, your dad's dead. This isn't your dad.
What are you, stupid?
He gets just as mad as Stabler.
He died because you were bad.
Too bad you weren't a better kid. He wouldn't have died. Fucking, they both just start flipping tables and high-fiving and shit.
Yeah.
Anna says that the man in the picture lived at her house when she was away. Now Stabler and Huang are going back and forth. Maybe Sawyer was Anna's mom's live-in boyfriend.
I was right. Yeah.
And stayed there after Anna's mom died. The boys were killed in 78, and that was the year Anna was committed to a state hospital. She was gone the whole year. Sawyer would have been alone at a farm in the middle of nowhere, which was a perfect place to commit the murders of these missing boys.
Yep.
We gotta go. Let's fucking go there. SVU and cops just fucking berries and cherries into this farm property. As they walk into the house, it doesn't seem like anyone had lived there in several years. Millie makes a comment that there's not going to be a basement in a house like that, but there's probably a crawl space underneath. He could have ripped up the floorboards. I immediately thought of Inglourious Bastards.
Oh.
What were you going to say?
John Wayne Gacy.
Oh, I thought of Inglourious Bastards in the beginning where he goes to the farmhouse and asks for milk. Yeah.
Oh, terrifying. Terrifying scene.
Yeah.
I was like, who is this guy?
Oh, God. Stabler points out that outside has a lot of places to hide bodies. Good job, Stabes. They head out there. In a shutout back, Stabler doesn't even bend over and flips a floorboard up with his foot. Looks like a trash bag sticking out. He reaches inside and pulls out the skeletal remains of a pretty intact little hand.
Wrist bones, the metatarsals, metacarp, all that shit.
Everything is
all
still
of it's together.
Connected. All of these separate bones are fused together. I could have believed that if they said, oh, they were fused together because of the whatever in the soil. But no. The bag was basically fluttering out the top like a little come look at me tag. And then the hand was right there.
Yeah.
Stabler's on fucking fire with this case, and I wish Olivia was here to see it.
Yeah. I need a video of that hand because it's so fucking ridiculous. It like pissed me. It like angered me. I'm like, the disrespect you are showing these fictional boys that have been murdered by holding up this fucking...
It was like, it was a Halloween prop.
Yeah.
It was Thing from the Addams Family. That's all it was. It was this. It was Thing. Like
fucking the cartilage. It
said made in China on it. I saw it.
Yeah. Basically, he reaches his hand in and just looks at the camera and gives you a middle finger. That's exactly what.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it felt like.
We don't respect our audience. Okay. Back at the precinct, Stabler's going through the crime scene pictures from the farm. Millie tells him studying the pictures isn't going to do shit. Look at them your whole life, and they're still just pictures of dead kids. And I'm like, okay, Millie, not to be a dick, but you, hair flip, are not a professional detective.
Don't tell me how to feel about stuff. And you've been wanting this.
Right, exactly. And you asked for my help. I don't come to your job and knock a beaker out of your hand or whatever. Stabler's wondering how Sawyer got the boy in the box. Did he steal him from the hospital and raise him? Millie wonders if he kidnapped him from undocumented immigrants who were too afraid to report his disappearance. Oh my God, that is so fucking sad to think about.
Yeah.
Stabler adds to that by wondering if he was working for Sawyer like the other boys. But like, why dump one boy in a box, another in a quarry, and bury the rest under a shut-on-your property? Not to mention that the boy in the box was originally dumped at the quarry and then moved to a vacant lot in Brooklyn. Yeah. Fucking why? Like, what are the answers here?
Yeah.
Millie wonders if someone scared him away from the quarry, but he went back with Juan's body 8 years later and not the other 3 boys.
Yeah.
And then she goes, how do you control 4 adolescent boys? And Stabler says, you scare them. You kill one and the others fall into line. Millie wonders if Sawyer had an accomplice, like someone to help wrangle them.
Yep.
And Stabler is like, yeah, dude, like with the boy in the box. He's referring to the teenager who was seen standing by the trunk. Maybe he used Carlos. ...
Millie and Stabler go and question Carlos in an interview room. Carlos wants to know why the fuck do you gotta go back through all of it. He doesn't want anything to do with this. Millie shows him all the photos and tells him that all those kids are dead and dumped like garbage. Stabler says that maybe Carlos doesn't want to talk about shit because Sawyer didn't kill the boys. Maybe he did. And Carlos is like, I didn't kill anybody. Stabler says, quote, but Sawyer was cleared years ago. Who might argue? And then Carlos is like, you know that's not true. You know I didn't do this. And Stabler says, well, you alibied him. You telling me you lied? Carlos says he didn't do anything. Stabler keeps digging and says, yeah, you did nothing when the other boys were killed. All this time, 4 families have been wondering what happened to their kids, all because you did nothing. Fucking
Carlos was a teenager.
baby. Carlos starts crying and he caves. He says that Sawyer told him that he would kill Anna if he did something. I'm sorry, what? How does he know Anna? He tells him that he was in love with Anna. She was messed up, but he loved her.
His acting in this scene is like next level.
Carlos was visiting his grandma, and that's how he met Anna and Sawyer. This was when he was 14. So one day, Sawyer came by and told him that he had to help him. There was a kid in the fucking trunk in a box. So they rode around in the car, and Carlos is freaking out and barfing, and they have to pull over. Sawyer's screaming at him and hitting him. And then Sawyer made him dump the box and told him that if he told anyone, he would kill Anna. When asked about the other boys in the picture, Carlos says that he knew them as well. He stands up and says, now I'm going to tell you the worst part and why I deserve everything I get. Carlos and Anna stayed in contact even while she was in the mental hospital. Sawyer killed those boys, and Carlos called Anna and told her everything. The boy in the box, about Sawyer killing the other boys, and about how he was Sawyer's alibi. And Anna said that she didn't care and loved him anyways. I know. And then Millie's like, what's the worst part? Carlos says that it's the worst part because Sawyer found out he told Anna and killed her. And they're like, actually, no.
Sure about that?
Stabler's like, Anna's alive. Carlos is so confused and upset. Sawyer had told him that he'd kill him too. And all these years, he's believed it. Because he's a fucking kid, and they always do that.
And also, he literally witnessed, like, kids that he murdered. So it's not a far-fetched thing. Like, there's a lot of fucking perpetrators that are like, I'll kill you, and they really wouldn't. But this guy fucking fully would.
Right. Remember, like, just like last episode where he was like to that little girl, like, I'll shoot your mom with this gun, and it's a fake gun, and it makes it even more like. At the hospital, Millie and Stabler bring Carlos to see Anna. Carlos sits next to Anna and asks if she knows him, and he holds her hand, but she doesn't respond in any way. Carlos tells Stabler and Millie that Sawyer made Anna this way. He used to raid people's medicine cabinets when he was working in their homes and made Anna take whatever he could find. Sawyer thought it was funny and made it easier for him to, quote, do things to her. Jesus fucking Christ. Stabler's like, where is Sawyer? And Carlos genuinely doesn't know where Sawyer is because he spent most of his life hiding from him. Anna speaks up and says, not Sawyer. Carlos tells her that it was Sawyer and that they don't have to protect him anymore. Anna says that it is not Sawyer because his real name is something else. Stabler asks Anna what Sawyer's real name is, and she smiles and looks at Carlos and says, he said he killed you, and Carlos kisses her hand. I hope they stay together forever.
I know. It's like so beautifully sad.
I know.
Back at the precinct, Millie, Stabler, and Munch review what they can and can't find on Robert Sawyer. Sawyer had been in the system since 1964 for fare beating in the subway. So Alyssa had it down as an assault, but it's actually a term used for skipping out on paying for public transit.
Oh.
Like fare beating. So like when you hop the turnstile or get on a bus from the exit door, shit like that. Because when they like as you get down and you find out the other part of it that he stole the ID, I'm like, fare beating, it wasn't somebody who had committed an assault. It was like a minor infraction, and that's the only reason this guy's name was in the system. Social Security records have no death record of him, but in 1968 he went from being an accountant to a plumber, and Millie's like, who does that? Which, judgy, but, you know, a gigantic filament light bulb explodes over Stabler's head. No one. What if Robert Sawyer's identity was stolen? The real Robert Sawyer had no relatives, no marriages, or kids. If he died or was killed, it's possible nobody would have even reported it. They figured the real Robert Sawyer died in 1968 when the job change happened. So the prints from the 1964 subway incident belonged to a dead man and not the person who killed the boys.
That's why it's just like a little infraction. It's not anything like wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
as the day goes, they're sifting through more records. The polygraph records from 1978 for Robert Sawyer. I could just say, quote Robert Sawyer, regarding the case of the boy in the box, show that he was fingerprinted. He wasn't formally arrested, so the prints were never put in the system. Millie takes the record and goes to input the prints into the current system as the music fucking swoles. Don't.
I'm not even looking at you. I'm just looking straight forward, waiting for you to go.
Boom, bap, boom. Big transish. Stabler leads SWAT to an apartment door. This man is in a full-ass arm sling, thinking he's going to donkey down this door.
Okay. a triple D. Yeah.
Sure.
Donkey down this door.
All right, Stabler. He starts pounding on the door. NYPD, open up. Sheldon Carrick. Boop. They battering ram the door in and start going through, clearing the apartment. They find an old man who's wearing like an oxygen thing sitting up in bed. This is actor Richard Bright. And this was also his second to last role. He died in 2006, R.I.P. He had been in Oz, All the Law and Orders, The Sopranos, but he was legit big time. He played Al Neary in all of the Godfather movies.
Who's Al Neary? Which one's him?
So he was like an assassin, and he replaced Luca Brasi. So he was like a top guy, and then Al Neary replaced him. It was he had a like his own arc and storyline thing, but was like a supporting member of the Corleone family. Anyway, as soon as I started explaining it, I'm like, she doesn't care.
I don't, but thank you though.
But like it was a big deal to have like The Godfather is a big deal movie. I'm surprised you didn't know that. But anyway, to me, I'm like, what a fucking get, this guy.
Crazy.
All right.
Oh, my turn.
Yeah.
At the precinct, Sawyer or Carrick is questioned by Novak and Stabler with his lawyer in the room. Carrick has end-stage pancreatic cancer, and Stabler says, "I hope it hurts." And you're like, "Jeez."
I'm not like, geez. I'm like, fuck yeah.
I mean, yeah, but like, I was just like, damn. Novak says, quote, "The evidence against you is overwhelming. The nature of your acts are heinous, especially, and that the jury won't take pity on you. You will be in prison for the rest of what is left of your life." Her tone is so like, anyways, he's like, "Is this supposed to scare me?" And Novak's like, "No, man, I'm just telling you what's up, and then I'm going to give you some options." She says that in consideration of his illness, he'd probably die before the end of trial, so she needs him to plead guilty, and if he does, her offer is that while he is in custody, she will personally arrange for him to receive care from an oncologist, and when his illness gets worse, and it will, she won't oppose his attorney to request for compassionate release so that he can die a free man. Well, that's very generous.
Extremely.
I was like, what in the fuck? No wonder why that judge last time was like, what?
But I mean, he's going to die in 5 minutes, so It's like...
In return, she wants the name of the boy in the box, and if he doesn't remember his name, everything he knows about him that will lead to identifying him. Novak tells him that if she gets jerked around at all, she'll make sure he stays locked up in a hospital prison ward until the day he dies. And her tone is like, "I am serious. I am not fucking around." Carrick says he doesn't remember the boy's name, and Stabler's like, "Bullshit, you son of a bitch." He knows Carrick remembers every single one of those boys he's murdered, and to not even try to tell him he didn't kill that boy. Stabler tells him to answer the question, but Carrick just says that he doesn't remember. Ooh. Cut to the cemetery. A castless Stabler meets Millie at the gravesite of the boy in the box. Her dad and some of the other cops paid for the stone as opposed to having an unmarked grave. Millie said she hated the boy growing up, thinking her dad loved him more than her because he spent so much time on him, you know?
It's so complicated.
I know. Millie thinks that she's messed up or jinxed the case somehow because she hated this boy as a kid. Stabler's like, yeah, probably. Stabler thinks that one day they will be able to name this kid and tells Millie to give herself a break. It was her dad's decision to spend his life looking for answers for a dead child when he had a living one at home. And Millie walks away. And Stabler reads the stone and it says, "Heavenly Father, bless this unknown boy." End of episode. And I wonder if that hit home for him at all with his kids. But whatever. End of episode.
End of episode. Toyota. This episode is this chaser.
So it is the boy in the box?
Yes.
Okay.
But it was more, they obviously embellished and added stuff, but there are embellishments here as well. I guess I shouldn't say embellishments, additions because the episode was 2005 and now
So
it's
shit's changed?
2024.
Oh my God.
Okay.
So I know about the boy in the box, but I don't really know about it.
What do you know?
That there was a boy in a box,
Okay.
and he was never figured out who he was.
Okay. On the morning of February 25th, 1957, Philadelphia Homicide Police Sergeant Charles Gargani got a call from 26-year-old college student Frederick Bananas. Okay, so this guy's original story was that a couple days before this, he had been driving down Susquehanna Road when a rabbit ran in front of his car. He got out and chased it. He lost the rabbit but found some muskrat traps in the field that weren't set. So he decided to set them.
It was him.
No.
Come on. Why are you chasing after a rabbit and then find a body? Come on.
I'll tell you in a second.
Okay, it was him, but go ahead.
All right. He decided to set them and come back in a couple days to see if he caught anything. While he was there, he noticed a cardboard box with what he assumed was a discarded doll in it because he saw a head poking out of the top. He went back the morning of February 25th, and the box was still there, so he went to take a closer look, and that's when he realized it wasn't a doll. It was a little boy. I like how this has evaded anyone figuring this out for decades upon decades, and you're like, it was that guy. Solved it.
I mean, he's like, oh, I came across some muskrat traps, so I set them. Like, what are you doing?
Okay.
No.
It was the 50s, first of all. Like,
You
what
don't
else
just
are you
stop
doing?
and then find fucking muskrat traps and then set them for somebody else.
Well, he eventually admitted to the police that the rabbit thing was bullshit. There was actually a school for wayward girls, and he would go to that place and spy on them. So he was a creep, not a killer. But he did set the traps and stuff because he's like, oh, look at these. The sergeant sent 2 detectives and Chief Medical Examiner Remington Bristow to the scene. The box was marked fragile, and inside was a little boy, nude, wrapped in a tattered plaid blanket with his arms folded on his stomach. The blanket had been torn in half. Detectives assumed that there may have been a name or image or initials or something embroidered on there that would be an identifier, so the tearing of it was intentional. Bananas took a polygraph and was cleared of any involvement.
Bananas. Okay. Did you say bananas?
Bananas.
Oh.
18-year-old John Perazzi was found to be the owner of the muskrat traps that were back there, so police brought him in to answer some questions. On February 23rd, he was riding his bike, passed to check on his traps, and saw the box. He also stopped to investigate, but when he lifted the box and saw the boy, he panicked and raced home. He didn't tell anybody.
That's wild.
It's like, why would somebody do that? Well, a few months before, John's brother found someone who had died of suicide in a tree. And he went home and he told, and police were involved, obviously, and everything. And it upset the whole family so badly that John didn't want to say anything. Can you imagine that? Like, your brother found a body and then you find a body and your family had just been through, like, it's just, I don't get it, but I do get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the way people respond to trauma.
That reminds me of like Chris Pedretti, how they went to the police and then it was like, we don't talk about this ever again.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? You're like, what?
Emmy Bristow initially determined the boy was to be between 4 and 6 years old. His body was covered in bruises, head to toe. He had clearly been beaten on several occasions. His bruising was especially bad on his face, arms, and legs. He had blonde hair and blue eyes with neatly trimmed nails and a fresh haircut. That was juxtaposed with his weight being only 30 pounds. That's what an average 2 to 3-year-old weighs.
And he was like 6, right?
They ended up determining that he was 4, but initially they were like, okay, he's between 4 and 6, but he had all of his baby teeth and his size was much smaller than he should have been, but it went hand in hand with malnourishment as well.
And, like abuse, like, yeah.
Yes. He also had several scars, some looking to be surgical, including an L-shaped scar under his chin, one looking to be an IV scar, as well as several on his ankle, groin, and chest. The autopsy showed cause of death was subdural swelling, which could have been caused by blunt force trauma or from sustained immense pressure on his skull. Police described that as like a vice grip, like somebody squeezing his little head. Police also found something they called washerwoman effect. His hands and feet were super wrinkled. This would have happened if his hands and feet had been immersed in water for an extended period of time before or after death. They believed the intention there was likely to obstruct fingerprints, but they were still able to get them. I don't know. That's the only time I read anything about this washerwoman effect thing that they found. It didn't lead to anything. Police released detailed information about this boy, hoping someone would come forward so they could identify him. Nobody did. Oh, also, they forgot to get fingerprints from the box. So any evidence of a perpetrator was like really inhibited with that not happening. Several leads and theories came in involving other missing kids, abuse situations, sightings, but none led to identifying him. Detectives traced the cardboard box back to a JCPenney department store in Upper Darby, about 15 minutes from where the boy was found. It had been for a baby's bassinet. Captain David H. Roberts alerted the public, asking that anyone who bought the same bassinet from JCPenney's in the time frame between December 3rd, 1956 to February 16th, 1957 to come forward and say where they had gotten rid of it.
Okay.
Just hoping for any kind of lead. And they got this exact like frame of time because of the serial number on the box. 12 of them had been sold in that time frame, but it was the 50s. Okay. And at that time, JCPenney had a cash only policy, so there was no buyer record. They located 8 of them, and buyers said that they either put it out for trash or they still had the box at their house.
Okay.
So they tried to run down all of that. Nothing. One of the many, many tips police ran down was from a man who called to report that not long before the boy was found, he had been driving down Susquehanna Road when he saw a woman with a boy between 12 and 14 at the open trunk of a car. He stopped to offer help because he assumed that they had a flat tire or something. He mentioned that it was super odd because neither of them said anything to him, but were standing weird like they were trying to block his view of the trunk or the license plate or something. That lead seemed promising, but apparently led to a dead end. I can't emphasize enough either the scope of this investigation. It was the most extensive evidence search in Philly's history. They put out tens of thousands of flyers. There were 300 homes visited by 20 detectives. This is all just like in the very beginning. And this investigation kept going quiet, popping up, going quiet, popping up. On July 24th, 1957, detectives had pooled their money to buy a small casket and have the boy buried at Potter's Field. They held a small ceremony for him and placed a headstone for him that read, "Heavenly Father, bless this unknown boy." Do you see how they like literally took everything for the episode? Yeah. In 1958, by this point, there had been 400,000 flyers sent out about this boy nationwide. And over the years, they had continued to follow these leads. One member of the department was particularly stuck on the case, medical examiner Remington Bristow. Bristow retired in 1975, but in his time as medical examiner was brought 20,000 unidentified people, and he was able to identify all of them except for 24. One of them was the boy in the box. He was obsessed with this case. Some believe he got stuck on who he referred to as my boy. He called him my boy. But people speculated that he got so attached to it because he had lost his baby daughter, Anne Marie, to SIDS at 3 months old, about 12 years before the discovery of the boy in the box. He spent thousands of his own dollars, traveled across country, talked to psychics. He pored over everything over and over and over, and still wasn't able to identify him. He theorized that the death was accidental and someone was going to burn his body. His opinion was that because he was clean cut, his arms had been folded over his belly, these were indicators that someone cared. Throughout his life, he continued to maintain the gravesite. He would go clear off snow in the winter, he would pull weeds in the summer, and he worked this case until he died in 1993. His grandson, Mark Kimmelheim, took over, taking care of the boy's gravesite. He also didn't believe that his grandfather felt that the death was accidental and that that was just a ruse in hopes that the parents would eventually come forward. Like if he's going, somebody murdered this kid, maybe people wouldn't be as likely to come forward. But his grandson was like, no, I'm pretty sure he thought this was a homicide.
Well, because of all the bruising and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, you know?
Yeah.
And the malnourishment kind of stuff.
Right.
And maybe they clipped his nails and stuff to not get skin and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the haircut was kind of hacked, you know? It wasn't like a well done haircut. kind of thing. So I don't know. Who knows? There's still so many open spots here. On March 19th, 1998, police homicide detective Thomas Augustine, retired detective Sam Weinstein, and news reporter Ron Avery took the story to the Vidocq Society. The Vidocq Society brought in the press and were hoping that it would refresh interest and maybe bring in new leads. When nothing came of that, they reached out to America's Most Wanted. An episode aired October 3rd, 1998, and then they replayed it in 2008. 60 tips came in from the America's Most Wanted exposure. In November of 98, they exhumed the grave and extracted tissue for DNA. Science! They then had him reburied in Ivy Hills Cemetery, which is a much more idyllic place for him to be buried. Craig Mann from Mann Funeral Homes donated the plot. His dad was the one who initially buried the boy in 1957. This was a communal effort around this kid, you know? They also placed a new black granite headstone that said America's Unknown Child. Then in June of 2002, this is 45 years later, a woman in Ohio named Mary, no last name, called police. She told police she knew who killed this boy. She had been 13 in 1957. Mary said that her mother threw him to the bathroom floor after he vomited in the house. She sat for a 3-hour interview. Mary told police his name was Jonathan and that a man and woman gave him to her parents 2 years before he died. Money had been exchanged, so maybe he was sold to them. She claimed that he was kept indoors in the basement at all times with a cardboard refrigerator box as a bed, and he endured physical and sexual abuse. After he died, she said she went with her mom to dump the box. While they were on the side of the road, a man drove up and asked them if they needed help. Her mother had her stand in front of the license plate. And then, obviously, I believe this supported the man's statement who had called early on in the investigation. Like, these two, why do these things line up so much? But then her name was leaked to the press and she fled the country.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what her trauma was. Clearly, it was a lot. If this is a story that had merit, that is a lot of trauma.
I mean, she's been scared since she's been 13.
Yes.
You know? Something.
Probably likely before that, you know?
Yeah, just like the Carlos.
Exactly. And I think that's where they kind of grabbed that story from, right? Because that was 2002. Yeah. That was fairly recent to when the episode was written and shot. So police tried to piece that together for 13 years, but still couldn't corroborate it. That was like the end of the line for that, right? That's when SVU picked it up, put out this episode, whatever. What the episode in 2005 didn't have was this. On March 21st, 2016, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released a forensic facial reconstruction image. The body was exhumed again in 2019 to get more DNA. Like, they had extracted DNA 20 years prior. So what they had wasn't, they needed something more substantial. And they were lucky to get anything.
And science had changed and
Yeah. So
crazy.
They then uploaded the DNA results to a public database and soon after got a hit. A match for a second cousin once removed came up after that relative uploaded their DNA. I'm thinking it was like an Ancestry.com thing or something because I kept reading about a public database for DNA. Like, that's what that would be, right? Why else would you put your DNA in the system, you know?
I think so, but I thought those things were like protected legally, but I don't know. I mean,
but they put the boy in the box's DNA out there. So if somebody else... and they weren't looking for a perp. They were looking for family. So on December 8th, 2022, it was announced to the public that the boy in the box had been identified.
I don't know this. Okay.
He was 4-year-old Joseph Augustus Zarelli, born January 13th, 1953. His parents were Augustus John Zarelli, he went by Gus, and Mary Elizabeth Abel, she went by Betsy. Both of them are deceased, but their living children would have been half-siblings of Joseph. Several sources close to the family believe there was, quote, no way in the world Betsy would have abused a child. Gus was also known to be a really revered person. That doesn't say anything, but I'm also saying that there was nothing off the top that people were like, oh, hell yeah. One relative went on record saying, quote, there was no cruelty, no meanness, or cruelty that swelled within her heart and soul. Gus Zarelli's 4 kids know nothing about Joseph and have no known connection, unfortunately. Betsy and Gus weren't married or anything, so Gus's kids wonder if Gus even knew he had another child. Philly PD is still investigating his murder, but they're working a 65-year-old case. So that's pretty tough.
Yeah. I wish they could find that lady again.
I know.
If she's even alive. Oh my
Right?
God.
And she just disappeared.
Like, did maybe the mom have an affair and like gave the child away to somebody to take care of that they thought they trusted, or so their husband wouldn't find out or something? Like,
so if Mary's story is true, or if her memory is clear enough, that means that he would have been given to her family or sold to her family when he was 2 years old. Or thereabouts, like toddler. It's possible that, let's say Betsy is his mom. Let's say Betsy had him. And back then, if you were unmarried and you had a baby, like that is so frowned upon, right?
Yeah.
That was like the worst thing that you could do.
They'd sometimes give them to like family members or something. And maybe they sold. Oh.
He may have been in the system. I don't know if they could find that information. I couldn't find anything else where it was like, where was this?
Like, how did it go from her to this family that killed him?
Right.
Yeah.
But her other kids were born later.
Oh, with another person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Betsy and Gus were never like, nobody was like, oh yeah, Betsy and Gus married for 30 years. Like, no.
It was just like a fling or something, or like a short relationship or something, whatever.
We don't know. We have no idea.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of theories at this point. There's so many theories. I have my own theory, and it involves the fucking Mary and where he ended up and the abuse. That's very likely. Like, that story makes a lot of sense because he was terribly beaten. But there was a lot of information that was out there to the public about this boy, because they were desperate to find anything they could about him. And when they identified him and they gave him a name, first of all, he has a beautifully done new headstone. But I mean, Bristow, he was the first person that everybody thought of when this kid finally got his name back. Just because it meant so much to him.
I did not know that they found his name and stuff. Holy shit.
So recently, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, the end.
Damn.
The end. I hate it.
I can't believe I don't know more about that. Just, I always say that. I whatever.
I know. That's your thing that you say.
All right. Next week, we have season 7, episode 8, Starved. So there's a bunch of rapes linked to a dating service, and Benny goes undercover.
Those are our favorites. All right. Rate and review us.
Email us at svupod@gmail.com. Send us stuff if you want. P.O. Box 176, Deforest, Wisconsin, 53532. Our social media is at svupod on everything. Get merch at svupod.com and tpublic.com. The tpublic has a bunch of stuff. You can get like mugs, phone cases, tapestry, pillows, shirts, all that shit.
You could do a whole just like full deck out. Full deck out. Get your full deck out.
Oh my God. Our Facebook group is SVU Pod Elite Squad. I love that fucking shit. We have a Facebook group chat called Walk and Talk, and hashtag Little Bit Loud to find indie pods. And if you are an indie pod, throw that in your fucking shit so we all can find you. Our Patreon is www.patreon.com/SVUpod. Tons of extra content.
Hiya. So much.
Call or text us at 1-920-345-7005. Again, 1-920-345-7005.
Do that. Yeah. Love to hear from you. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye. Stabler asked
Maleficent.
how long is a rope and how good does it feel going down a flight of cork stairs or whatever the fuck those are called?
Cork stairs?
Spiral stairs, I mean.
Oh, you were thinking corkscrew. I'm like, how would you know what the material is made out of? Is that like a thing? I thought they were stone. I had a whole thing.
So they're Birkenstock stairs, is basically what it is. And
if you don't seal those things,
they get
seal them when they get the rain will wash them right out.
Let's see. Okay.
You know they'll last forever. You can replace the bottoms. Okay.
That's what you said.
They drive up in their wheelie cars. No.
In their wheelie cars. Don't. And to our Elite Squad patrons, Marisa M, Elke H, Tricia S, Emily T, Katarina G, Mary D, Joshua H, Lem, Eliza W, Nikki B, Melanie G, Andrew, Miranda B, Lauren T,
Katie E, Kate H, Vanessa, Lex, Shelby K, Kimberly L, Bonita R, Maren, Ursula, Catherine M, Kate P, Jessica S, D, Jana M. You're just gonna let me keep going on like this?
I always okay. Jana M, Tammy J. Oh,
I meant the accent.
The accent. Oh yeah. Go ahead. I don't care.
Jana M. Go ahead.
Tammy J, Blair, Sam D, Mac Tack, Meg M, Alexis J, Caitlin S, Kristina D, Camille Z, Maggie D, Sin, Jessica P, Victoria, Scout G,
Melissa M, Desiree R, Monica K, Katie S, Brenna T, Andrea M, Tosh, Al H, Andrea H, Gabe's Aunt Sarah,
Katie H, Vern, Catherine B, Ariana, Madeline K, Kristen F, Samara B, Amanda P, Mahalia S, Jules K, Julie R, Tracy, Rachel, Kitty, Carrie M, Leilani J,
Alex, Samantha S, Ariel E, Becky A, Amelia T, Emily D, Margaret S, and Natalie B.
Hey, you guys. Thanks.
Hey.
You know?
Thank you
I really
so
appreciate
much.
you guys. No, but for real though, thanks.
Genuinely, we do. I was just thinking about this, and I've been having these weird moments of gratitude. No, I've been having like big moments of gratitude for people that support us that don't have to, because honestly, 100% legit, like we wouldn't be doing this unless we had your support.
We couldn't.
Because we can't afford to be doing it unless we have your support.
Yeah.
So please know how much we appreciate you and don't take you for granted. Love you so much. Okay, love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
That was a verbal hug.